Kimmy, let's start with Aaron Rodgers. He's the MVP, the QB2 last season behind Josh Allen. He's now the seventh quarterback off the board. What gives?
Are you guys just mad at him because of all the media circus over the offseason and the summer? This is so disrespectful. And we saw what happened when Aaron Rodgers felt, I guess, kind of semi-disrespected last season with the Packers. He was the MVP of the entire league. An ADP of being the QB number 7 off the boards is insane to me because the Packers finished with the most points per game in 2020, and Aaron Rodgers had a career-high 48 touchdown passes. Now, I was trying to think, is this just a fluke? Was last season just the only season he was great because it was a revenge thing with the Packers? That's not the case. In season where Aaron Rodgers played at least 10 games, he finished among the fantasy quarterback number 1 5 times. So he's been QB1 5 times in his career. He's been fantasy QB2 3 times in his career. And he's only had 3 career finishes outside of the top 2 in fantasy football. And all of those finishes were still within the top 10. Put some respect on his name. I'm going to snag him early because y'all are crazy, okay?
Yeah, people thought he tried hard last year. I mean, QB7? He's going to tear up the entire division and the NFL. Let's go over somebody else in the division, Marcus, because people forget that David Montgomery was the 4th highest scoring running back in 2020. Right now he's being drafted, wait for this, RB17. Are we sleeping on the bear?
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to do like the disrespectful SpongeBob meme, but his schedule was so easy last year. It's like, you know what? Maybe it was, but he took advantage of it. And we see guys all the time that have favorable schedules and don't produce the way David Montgomery did at the end of the season. Throw in the fact that this year, I know that we can never tell completely how things are going to go, but on paper, the schedule looks pretty good again this year for him. And as Tariq Cohen's rehab has been slowed, that means there's probably more opportunity for Montgomery to be a pass catcher like we saw at the end of last season. So I do feel like there's disrespect, but I do feel like at the same time, it's starting to turn a little bit and people are understanding what the situation is. And I think we're starting to see Montgomery drafted at probably a more reasonable spot.
All right, so I've gone on the record that Tyler Lockett is the most value you can get at wideout in Seattle. He was the 8th highest scoring receiver last year, being drafted outside of the top 20 this year. Are the people wrong, Kimmy?
They're very wrong. They're very wrong on Tyler Lockett. And I think we get confused because when you think of Seattle wideouts, DK Metcalf kind of takes the cake on this one. But people forget Tyler Lockett is lining up opposite of him and also very, very good at fantasy football. Russell Wilson wants to have an MVP-like season. He wants to actually win the division. And all eyes are on Tyler Lockett if he wants to do so. He had career high in fantasy points and fantasy points per game last season, but also in targets and receptions. His stats have improved each and every season these last 3 years. Now, he had 1,000+ scrimmage yards and 8+ touchdowns in 3 straight seasons. He finished as a wideout number 8 in 2020. So I don't know this wide receiver 21 ADP, what's happening here. Like you said, Patrick, best steal at wideout in fantasy football this season. Stop sleeping on Tyler Lockett. Come on.
Go get him. All in on Tyler Lockett. Last but not least, let's talk tight end. After Kelsey and Waller, the 3rd highest scorer at the position last year, it wasn't Kittle, it wasn't Tanyan, it wasn't Hawkinson. It was Logan Thomas, the former quarterback, who probably would have been one of the best quarterbacks on his team last year. He's being drafted like a low-end starting tight end, Marcus. Is that a mistake?
I mean, I think it is, but I will say that I understand people's concern here. I mean, one, the tight end position has continually let us down over the last few years outside of, the top 3 or 4 guys. But you look at what Logan Thomas did last year. I mean, he ran a ton of routes. In fact, you look at all the tight ends, Logan Thomas ran more routes than anybody. That's Travis Kelce, that's Darren Waller, all of them. He was 7th in receiving yards among the position, which I think is where people are concerned. But let's remember, as you mentioned, he's a converted quarterback. He's really entering just his 2nd year as a full-time starting tight end. And we know in the past, tight ends take a little while to develop. So I think this is going to be good. I think right now it's a value. And I'm trying to draft Logan Thomas in some spots where I don't get Travis Kelce because I think a big leap is coming for him this year.